I have been trying to gain a decent paying job in Dade County, Miami, for probably over 10 years. We ate lunch at the mall. I look a little tired because I am. As you guys know, I've been talking to you about the financial struggles here living in Dade County and about my apartment expenses that are extreme. Again, we are a poor, simple building that happens to be located in a good area. And we were like the beach community. So as long as you had a little part-time job or a little job, you were able to get by. You know, if you had a $200 maintenance a month and your taxes, and the taxes were extremely low because everyone had bought in the building, 40 years ago, so our taxes were $1,000 a year. We were in good shape. You didn't even need a car. You got a little part-time job down the street. And that's basically what I was doing. And you would say like, oh, well, why didn't you have a better job? It's like, believe me, I've been trying. The sad part is, and this is a whole video series I could probably do on this channel. Some of you would be like, why'd you let it get to that point? Why didn't you get a better job and prepare for the future? It's like, I have been trying to gain a decent paying job in Dade County, Miami, for probably over 10 years. I have applied for endless array of jobs, whether it be clerical or an arts center or a city job or a secretary job, you name it. Anything and everything I've applied for. School, university jobs, everything. And I have gotten one rejection after another. And it's not because I don't have a competent nature. There were always challenges. Depending on what languages you speak in Dade County, it may sound like, oh, it's not an issue. It actually is. Like, immediately that disqualifies you from a wide range of jobs. And we're not even talking any more Spanish. You go on many job listings in Dade County, it says you must be able to speak Spanish and Portuguese. The area that I live in, that's known as Sunny Isles Beach, is predominantly Russian and Russian speaking. So, for example, you want to get a job at the bank down the street, it says requirement, you must speak Russian. You must speak Russian to work at the bank because all the customers are Russian, and many of them, if they speak English, they have difficulty. So the language barrier here has always been a difficult thing. It's not to say that people who do speak Spanish who are employed don't also speak English. It's just that it's a requirement here. Having an education in Dade County has also been a barrier. You would, like, some of you may be like tilting your head like that. What do you mean? I could give you an idea of how this started. When I was an undergrad and I would go to apply for a job, the hiring manager, let's say I wanted a retail job when I was an undergrad, hiring manager a lot of times did not have an education. Sometimes they did, and it was the type of situation where maybe they were in school themselves, or it took them 10, 20 years to get an education, and I would show up to try to get something, to get a job, and your education would be a negative because they didn't want you to have an education. And you would say, well, what is the average employee in Dade County that's working in retail jobs and all these jobs that you could have if you were rowing in college and all that stuff? Most people don't have that here. There are people in South Florida, obviously, that have degrees, but they've been lucky enough to fall into a job. Maybe a friend got it for them or a family member helped them get it. But I think that we've been greatly lied to when we were told as young people that the job market is really good. It's not. There's you'll go by stores, even retail jobs, because you're willing to have this extra part-time job. It's a retail job. You'll walk in and they will tell you that they're actually not hiring. You'll be like, but you have a sign on the window that says, hiring, please come in, we want to meet you. And it's like, and then you get in and they're like, we're not really hiring. It's like, or then you go to another retail job, which is what happened to me the other day when I mentioned I had been able to attain a second part-time job, and I ended up getting the job, and they told us it was part-time, and now it would seem, I could be wrong, I have to give it another few days, that it not only is it not part-time, but it is not only on call, but it's not even on call. It's a group chat, and someone will say, I need someone to come in today, out of nowhere. And then you'll see 10 beeps that come in a row, and it'll be like, I can. And it would be the equivalent of living in the mall and being here with your phone, kind of like they do with Instacart. If you've ever seen Instacart workers, they're like stationed in Publix. They like sit like in the Publix trying to get a Instacart order. Like they're just like hanging out, camped out at Publix, like with their phones out, just like holding the phone. And that's what it would be. You would have to be in the mall at all times with your phone out, ready to go in the event someone came and you're like, oh, there's a job, I can. And the other day I tried to do it, literally. It beeped, anyone available for this time? I was gonna go and someone else got it. It's the equivalent of, little birds, and you throw a little piece of bread and all the birds like attack the bread at the same time. All the birds go for the bread at the same time. And I don't know if eventually they will offer me a consistent, but I don't know. So, but I don't know. So I don't really anticipate that being reliable. I had mentioned to you guys that I needed a second part-time job just to attempt to supplement myself. And now it would seem that particular part-time job, second part-time job, has not worked out. So I'm, on the search now for an additional second part-time job. I have an interview tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. The one that's for tomorrow is actually a better position. In other words, they would pay more in the event I was able to get it. And then if it were regular. That was the other thing about the other job. It was like really low wage, like minimum wage. And so there's that. And then, as I mentioned to you guys, I'll start to talk more transparent about these jobs, especially as they start to fall through. But I'm just gonna make it like as vague as possible at the moment. The primary part-time job I have is not enough to cover my expenses. So that's why I was searching out a second part-time job, especially with the situation with my condo now. The primary part-time job, and again, I'll be able to talk about this with more transparency probably within the next couple weeks, was consistent. It was consistent, which I needed. And even though it wasn't enough income, it was consistent and it was a start. So in other words, if I knew I had my primary part-time job, I could then get a secondary part-time job. My primary part-time job has now shifted company oversight. So basically we all got an email saying that our employment was no longer with who we thought we were employed by, and that this other company would be governing us. The first company that governed us, it was basically the attitude of every day you have employment. Now, the secondary, and we would do a lot of odd end jobs, so that way we made sure we got paid every day. This new company now that has oversight over us, that's going to be kicking in any day now, it would seem that there's no guarantee anymore on the consistency. So you technically have a job, but the way it worked before was pretty much every day you would be guaranteed work. With this now, the way it works is unless there's very, very specific info as to why you're needed on a daily basis, it would seem that you're not able to work those days. And there's a lot of days where you are working kind of as a floater. So I don't know what's going to happen now. And I'm worried. I'm worried because I needed the primary job as my base part-time job. And now I don't know what's going to happen anymore. And I feel very, very worried. I'm sending out emails. I've touched base with some of you would suggest that. I touched base with my current employer, the one that oversees me every day. And there's kind of not been real insight as to whether I need to be worried or not. They've made comments like, I haven't been trained yet on how to process you every day. I'll fight for you and make sure you work every day. It's like, I don't know what that means. So I'm freaking out right now because as you guys knew, I was really struggling with my expenses as it was, needing to go out and get a secondary part-time job. And now I don't even know if I have my primary part-time job. So I'm freaking out pretty good. I've sent emails out now, again, to the person I had reached out to on the phone, who is my main employer, and 2 other people who would have the answer as to whether I need to be concerned or not. And I'm just waiting to see if they will give me any insight, honest insight, as to whether I need to be concerned or not. And I also reached out to another coworker that I work with to see if they are concerned. So I am concerned. I'm at the mall right now, and I'm not really sleeping very well. I'm honestly not eating very well, and that's why I look tired and not put together. Because when you're going through this type of stress, you're not exactly looking to do the beauty glam look. So I don't even know what to do. I know that my condo has very severe expenses on a monthly basis. On the one hand, I don't want to prematurely sell. Before, I was telling you guys I was going to get a second part-time job. I was going to get a third part-time job. I was going to see if I could make it work on a monthly basis. And now I don't even know if I can do that. That's literally what I was telling you guys. I was posting one video after another telling you that I was going to get a second part-time job, a third part-time job, and I was going to see if I could somehow make it work. So as I was mentioning to you guys before the situation was I had my primary part-time job. It wasn't enough. The expenses are through the roof with my apartment. I needed a second part-time job, all that. Wanted to see if I could possibly get by on a month-to-month basis. Now I've been hit with this whammy out of nowhere that I do not know now, because of the takeover of my primary job, if I will have consistent employment anymore. I had kind of a gig going with this particular location that I work, where I happen to work almost every day. And in actuality, that's not really the norm. So when I'm talking to the new employer and I'm like, I work every day, am I going to still be able to work every day? And they're like, oh, well, that's up to the place. And I'm like, well, I kind of do a lot of floater type work at this job, am I going to still be able to do that? And they're like, well, it would have to be very specific. So now I'm not sure anymore. For all those days that I was like a floater and helping out, am I gonna have work anymore? So I'm very worried. If I had known this information 2 months ago, I would have been able to have maybe had more time to figure out what to do, and also wouldn't have drained as much of expenses, obviously. And I don't know what to do now, because the other thing that I have to be mindful of is that there are two, we believe, one for sure, and maybe 2 additional assessments coming to my condo's expenses. So that means that not only am I probably in the negative to afford my current expenses, but if these additional assessments come, yes, I could sell, but then that's coming out of the sale price, and then I may be severely limited as to my options after I sell, in terms of repurchasing, how much money you have left, all of these things. And you also, you could, if you didn't watch your expenses, you could end up default. So I have to be very careful. I don't really have a lot of time left to figure out what to do, because on the one hand, I'm trying to get some answers from the job, but at the same time, I know the assessments are coming. So if any of you guys have some insight you would like to share, I know most of you had said just sell and get out of this situation, but I would appreciate your feedback on this. Please do comment in the comment section. Let me know any advice you have. The other fear is, if some of you were wondering, well, what if you sold? Where are you going? It would be too expensive probably to stay here and rent. I'd go through the cash, because then again, I'm not making enough. So in theory, I would probably have to go somewhere where it's a little bit cheaper and attempt to be lucky enough to buy something. A swap for swap, only a lot less money, no HOA and all that. And then the fear with that, of course, is that I've moved to a place without having a job. I'm going to be in the negative. I'll be okay for about 2 years, but I will need to get a job, and I'm not sure what the job availability is in this new place. And that's a risk in itself. But I guess a lot of you would come back and say, well, if you're in a current situation that you can't afford, that's a situation too. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, can I figure it out? Is it possible that my primary job won't be as much of a consequence as I am concerned about? Can I get a secondary job? I have an interview tomorrow, so I'm almost waiting to try to see if I can hold out another few days to get some answers, because I don't want to prematurely sell, but I also don't want to wait long enough that I end up in trouble. So the job market in here in Miami is really bad. Miami has always been a bottle service industry. For that matter, it's probably really bad a lot of places. The place that I'm thinking of going probably doesn't have that much in terms of jobs either. But, I even, yesterday, I forgot that was yesterday, I walked into a location asking for a part-time job that is considered, for people who are in school, not even college, for people who are, on summer break and stuff like that. And I'm proud of myself that I was willing to do that. But they basically told me that, in a roundabout way, they said that basically I was too competent and that was a problem. And it's hurtful, because I went in there and I said, I was very humble, and I said, I need a job. I need a second job. I basically said, once they're looking at my resume, and I'm like, I know what you're seeing, but I need a second job. My expenses have gone up. And they kind of took it as an opportunity to be very Miami-like to me. And I guess some of you might say, from their perspective, maybe they're worried you're going to take their job or something like that, and that's their mindset, when I just kind of need a job. And I'm trying to figure out what to do. The situation in Miami here has been, it's very difficult to get employment, and I'm sure it is other places too. Problem here is the expenses. And then some of you would say, well, maybe if there's not a lot of access in other places to have, in other words, you weigh the thing. In other words, you go to another place where maybe there's not as much job accessibility. Here, there's technically more job accessibility, but you're lucky if you get a little part-time job here and a little part-time job there. You get a little part-time job here, a little part-time job there, and my expenses are through the roof. So I don't know what to do. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. I'm very stressed, and we will see what happens. Tomorrow I go for an interview, and then the day after, here's the annoying part, I am required to go to like a seminar about my new employment. And this is employment that I have been doing and I'm skilled in for the last over 3 years. And I'm showing up to this, and it's just kind of like a shock. We're told that we're going to lose access to our email, all of our contacts, the way we were communicating with all of our professional friends over the years. We will no longer have access unless you know their email. It's pretty bewildering. So yeah, I'm taking it on a day-by-day basis, and I feel like I'm going to have to come to some sort of decision by the end of the week. I just don't want to prematurely sell, but I also don't want to be negligent and not sell, because the assessments are coming. So I'd love to hear you guys, your opinions. I know I've heard a lot of your opinions already, but give me your thoughts, please. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I have Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video, and bye.